Hello and welcome back. I was thinking about what is the most important thing that I've discovered, found along this whole journey. I don't think there's any one thing that's the most important. Everyone's going to have certain things that in certain moments are more important, feel more important. And it's a combination of all these different things, right, that you allow yourself to feel, that can make a difference in your day-to-day life, how happy you are. But I think this is going to sound a little bit strange, and maybe you might be in disbelief, but I think the most important thing as far as spiritual growth is concerned, I want to say two things here. First of all is pain. Pain of some kind of something that happened that shaked your world, so that whatever it is, the way your life was before, it's now completely changed. And the second thing that I think is the most important in all of spiritual growth is contrast. Without those two things, and really they're both the same. So if you're feeling really, really happy, well then the contrast to happiness is what? Anger or sadness, right? So when you're feeling really happy for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you feel very, the opposite emotion, then that gives you some perspective. That shows you also that this is possible, not only for you, but for everybody else, but for sure right now in this moment for you, because you're experiencing it. So that helps to bring you closer to people. Pain, let me talk about pain a little bit first before I go into contrast and why I think it's important. But pain has this quality of extreme uncomfortableness. So whether or not you're in physical pain or emotional pain, your body will be compelled, your mind will be compelled to change the situation in some way so the pain goes away. Sometimes we don't realize we're in that much pain until all of a sudden it just one day clicks and you start doing things differently. That is the magic of pain. It helps you to change without really needing to do very much, because pain generates this intense level of motivation for change. And that's it in a nutshell. And if there wasn't any contrast, if you were always in pain and you never felt good, then you would never feel the motivation to not feel pain, because you wouldn't realize that feeling good is a possibility. If you always felt good and you never felt bad, then you would never feel the need to improve anything, because you never feel bad. There's never that contrast from good feeling that you have to bad, so there's never any need to progress spiritually, to change, to grow, to mature. So pain, contrast, two very important things that we have here as a human being, very important, that you're not going to evolve without those two aspects. And it's funny because when we're on the journey, on the path, sometimes you can get confused and you can feel yourself reaching for always happy feelings along the path. You might get to that point somewhere where you always want happiness. But as I just started, let me say that again. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, pain and contrast are two of the most important things for spiritual growth. So if you're trying to avoid pain, then you're avoiding some of your motivation. You're avoiding a bit of your fuel that you can use to fuel your change. So it's like if a bad relationship, you're in a relationship that you don't really necessarily want to be in, well, the more mean and hurtful that person is to you, the more likely you are to find the courage and leave. Do you see what I mean? A situation that is seen as negative or bad or painful is not a bad thing. So, anyways, another thing that I've learned as far as spiritual development goes, that's really, really, really important, is learning to give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you're feeling in full openness. Learning to give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. Vulnerability, to open up. Another very, very, very important step to cultivate along the path, I believe. Allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling in the moment, whoever's around you, whatever it is that you're doing. You might be on a phone call with a very important person for your job, and you might feel sad. It doesn't mean you need to start crying while you're on the phone, but you don't suppress all of it. You recognize it. You don't push it away. You don't start crying over the phone either, but at the same time, you give it respect, and you don't shun it away. And if you notice when you hang up the call, you still feel like crying, you let it out. A vulnerability. It's extremely important to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Coming to the realization that everyone has some form of struggle, right? We're all in some kind of pain somewhere, somehow. So that helps to bring us closer together too, give us something we can relate to with each other. Helps to be a bit more compassionate towards other people when you have gone through the same thing they have gone through, and you see somebody in the same situation you were just in, and you can't help but act to help that person not go through the same thing you just did. So compassion is very powerful. When you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, it gives you permission to act in certain ways that are considered compassionate. Giving yourself permission might even be the most important thing I've learned to cultivate. Permission. Giving yourself permission. Permission to cry. Permission to try a new healing modality. Permission to meditate. Permission. What it really comes down to is permission for everything. I mean, let's say all of a sudden anger comes in. Anger doesn't require your permission. Poof, it just seems to appear. Although it's somewhere down the line, You could find you've given yourself certain permissions that allowed anger to rise in the first place, but that's another. So anger seems to arise on itself, by itself, and then you give yourself permission to let it go. You could give yourself that kind of permission. So you could look at your whole spiritual journey as step by step giving yourself permission to be more caring, loving yourself. Vulnerability, giving yourself permission. Contrast and pain, these are things that are necessary for your growth. The the picket fence dream life, the American dream, the American dream has taught us to search and seek out comfort. We have aligned our inner values with society's values. And we did this before we had the level of intelligence necessary to question whether or not society is right or wrong in its positioning of different values. We never actually stopped and asked for ourselves, does this work for me? So a lot of the permissions you've given yourself unconsciously has created a lot of the unconscious behaviors that you have. A lot of the things you like and don't like about yourself are both to do with a type of permission you've given yourself in the past. Which door did you open, which led to the intricate personality that you have created today, which you may believe is who you are. And that brings me to the final part of this video, and that's belief. Belief is probably the most important of these 4 steps that I'm talking about here in this video. These 4 things, aspects, experiences as a human that are extremely important to understand in order to grow spiritually, right? Your beliefs have the power to create the world you see. What you believe will be, for you anyways. Contrast, pain, and permission, giving yourself permission. And if you notice, I don't give a lot of, this is how to do it in my videos. I like to just talk about some of the experiences that I've had so that hopefully you become motivated to look for yourself. If you want a book on techniques, there's countless books. Buddhist, Taoist, you name it. You can find all kinds of techniques. People have done that, been there, done that. With these videos, that's not my intention at all. It is to have you be curious enough to start searching inside your own self to find some of these things for yourself. Because everything you read in a book, you're going to find inside yourself when it comes to spirituality, enlightenment, all of these things. You don't need a book. A book can help you, but you don't need it. All the answers, everything is all from the inside. These people who wrote these books got the information for the book from inside themselves. And all of the masters have all said that it's all, the books are in you. And once you realize it, the books are useless. You are then it. You are already it. So you just have to look inside. And that's really the message of these videos. I'm hoping you look for yourself. If you found the book that was really interesting, test it, try it, look inside. You become your own proof. So I'll leave you with that. Wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.